let's play this clip. It furthers the topic we're on, which is sort of just Trump country, Trump supporters, and Trump indictment.
Today we witness the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges of which he and numerous other presidents would be guilty, right in the middle of a presidential election in which he is losing very badly. This is called election interference and yet another attempt to rig and steal a presidential election. More importantly, it's a political persecution like something straight out of a fascist or a communist nation. This day will go down in infamy, and Joe Biden will forever be remembered as not only the most corrupt president in the history of our country, but perhaps even more importantly, the president who, together with a band of his closest thugs, misfits, and Marxists, tried to destroy American democracy.
You notice they have to insert communists, even if it's we have nothing to do with it. They have to always fear mongering against communism. It's so in their DNA to do, which is hilarious to me. But let's finish the clip, and then I have an article from Margaret Kimberly to kind of read a couple of paragraphs here, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
So, boy, when he's right, huh? And boy, is he right. That's he is right, and that is exactly what's happening. And this is unprecedented because they said that if Trump did this to his opponents, it would be the end of democracy. Well, they're doing it to their political opponents. So this is the thing that everyone's supposed to be. Remember January 6th, everybody's, oh, democracy, democracy, democracy. Well, it's over. Trump is 100% right. Joe Biden is doing things that third world dictators do. And they're the one doing, they said Trump was going to do this. They said Trump was going to lock up his political opponents when he became president. And now that's what Joe Biden's doing when Joe Biden's losing an election to him. He had one more thing to say about the deep state. Watch this. He's not fucking around Trump anymore. Watch this.
When I'm reelected, and we will get reelected, we have no choice. We're not going to have a country anymore. I will totally obliterate the deep state. We will obliterate the deep state. And we know who they are. I know exactly who they are.
So, of course, Trump is playing into it. But let me get your both of your reaction to the video, to that last video with Jimmy Dore. Because I covered this indictment. To me, it's not whether or not he's guilty or not. It's why is this a sort of a jailing of political opponents, which is fascism. So what was your reaction to this, or what is your reaction, Apollo? Let's start with you first and then go to Zoya, to this last video with Jimmy.
Yeah, before I get into that, I just wanted to mention something about the previous topic real quick.
Sure.
Back in 2016, Trump got like 60 million or something votes. 9.8 million of those were former two-time Obama voters. So 1 in 6 Trump voters were former two-time Obama voters. And Obama, I mean, I can't remember this now. I was too young in 2008, but he ran from what I understand, a pretty progressive lefty kind of campaign. Yeah. So people that voted for him ended up voting for Trump. I mean, so there's definitely room for crossover, lots of room to build a better working class coalition. You don't need to alienate these people. Yeah, I just want to say that real quick. But about this video here, Trump is repeating a lot of same things that he said back in 2016. I'm going to go after the deep state. I'm going after the Pentagon, where he said one thing, but he did another in office. Right. So I don't really put too much value into what he says, but it is worth noting how receptive people are to that message. Even if, unfortunately, people have short-term memory, if they're receptive to that message, they know something is wrong with those very same institutions that Trump's criticizing, if that message resonates. And to what Jimmy said, yeah, this is one-sided. This is asymmetric. I mean, there is definitely something you could prosecute Trump for. There's something you can prosecute every single president for. But the fact that it's it's in one direction against a political opponent. You know, there's like a million things you go after Joe Biden for, or Barack Obama, or George Bush, or, you know, name any president for that matter.
Yeah, name one.
The fact that we're not going after them, we're only going after Trump, we're only going after not even Republicans, but Trump specifically. You know, if this was George Bush, like nobody would even think about going after him. You know, like people are rehabilitating him. Democrat, like, you know, I think at one point Democrats gave George Bush a 61% approval rating in the Trump years because they took Trump and vilified him to hell, and like the propaganda worked and started making George Bush look good. But yeah, it is definitely political. Like it 100% is political. It's one-sided, and if Trump did it, all hell would break loose in the liberal class. You know, so that's why I just don't pay attention to this, because it's all political theater, and it's like it's not really solving any real issues. It's I just sort of zone it out when it happens, because it's one-sided, and it's and a lot of times it's just a cover for burying the more important stories that people should be hearing about.
Do you think, like, I'm not sure what, like, a conviction wouldn't even prevent him from running for president, or maybe it would, or maybe they're trying to get him to plead to that. I just don't understand. Yeah, go speak to that if you heard something about that.
I heard both, actually, like that the conviction would actually stop him from running, and I heard that from like Republicans, like his former aides and staffers. Douglas McGregor was, I think, somebody in his Defense Department. Yeah, he has actually pretty good takes on like NATO expansion and imperialism, but you know, he is a typical Republican. So when he drops the ball hard. But he was the one that that if he is indicted, Trump will not be able to run. So I don't know. I've heard both sides of it. But ultimately, like regardless of whether or not Trump becomes president, I don't think we're gonna see any meaningful change in any kind of policy whatsoever.
No, not at all. But the people who we showed, and I'll go to Zoya now, the people who we showed in the video with Jordan are the people who eat what he's saying up right here. Yeah. And he knows he's speaking specifically to those people who are in that pain from these trade deals of sending manufacturing jobs overseas, that he knows that. And that's so when he says deep state, that's why that guy in that earlier video was kind of alluding to that. But Zoya, what say you? What's your reaction to all this?
Well, to me, this is all like analyzing a Marvel movie. You know, here's the villain that we got, and for the other side, Biden's the villain. You know, we all it's also like a sporting event, and I've said it's the modern Coliseum to distract the masses from their material conditions. And we all have our favorites, you know, that we're cheering for. But at the same time, under every single administration, blue or red, the wealth gap has increased and war has increased. The military-industrial complex and Wall Street win every single election. So no matter which puppet they present in front of us, and this, hostility they express to each other, even Nancy Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy, at the end of the day, they're, just like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you're not in it. And that is absolutely true, because their kids go to the same private schools. You can find pictures online right now of Nancy Pelosi's kids partying it up with Trump's kids. You know, these people in public pretend like they have this epic battle and hate each other so much. But believe me, they are all living lifestyles of privilege, and that unites them. They are all very comfortable. And us, the working class, we're not letting our struggles unite us. That does not mean we have to be single-minded and we have to agree on every single issue. But Nick will tell you, and he's mentioned it before, canvassing, that right-wingers were actually easier to flip, and my experience too, than liberals, because they are open to the fact that the government is corrupt. You just got to give them more facts and information, and then they're open-minded. They like authentic conversation, and programming. And another really uniting issue for everyone, believe it or not, is environmentalism. Not climate change, but specifically like having clean water. Like having clean water should be a uniting issue for all of us, no matter where else you stand, and that should be something really easy. But we're too consumed by these kind of nationwide electoral races to focus on the issues. And whenever we are trying to garner support, you know, I was talking about Cop City before it was cool. I talked about Cop City on RBN when no one ever heard of it, no one paid attention to it. And whenever I would tweet about it, it would barely get any likes. And now it's on the national stage. Now people are paying attention thanks to the hard work of our brothers and sisters on the front lines, putting their bodies in danger and some of them losing their lives to bring that attention. But it's on us to ignore this noise and focus on the things that really matter, because Trump has this appeal using a populist message, and Bernie had his appeal using a populist message. But unfortunately, none of them led workers to where they need to be, led the American majority to where they need to be in labor organizing, in getting to a general strike, in improving our material conditions. These elections are a massive distraction to me. And Trump is supposed to trigger you. And Biden is supposed to trigger them. This is designed to manipulate our emotions. And I'll share a little just funny thing for you guys. A couple of years ago, I was curious. I was triggered by Trump getting elected myself, even though I know better. But as a sexual assault survivor, when he nominated Kavanaugh and the way that his accuser was being treated, the rhetoric that was used, it's very triggering for all survivors, just the way rape is discussed in general. And that's when I joined Twitter. I joined Twitter to start screaming at politicians. And I was tagging all of them and saying, like, you better not confirm this guy. That's where I started off at. And then I did a little experiment with myself. For a long amount of time, I don't remember how long it was, but I think it was like a couple of months, I watched only Fox News. And then I switched and I watched only CNN. And I observed myself getting sucked into the rhetoric, getting triggered emotionally, becoming really single-minded, and just, you know, rooting for one side or the other, because the way they present things, it's like, oh my God, these guys are doing this. That's outrageous. Either channel, either side. So I noticed myself being psychologically manipulated by this stuff. Entertainment is America's #1 export.
Yes.
Which really is propaganda, because that's what our entertainment is. And we don't really have news. We don't have anything journalistic to watch on TV. They're just playing on your emotions. And no one's fact checking them, and they can get away with saying anything. And just like Rachel Maddow, you know, she is technically an entertainer. But because she puts on a certain suit and has a certain background, psychologically, when we're watching that, we assume it's fact. Like CJ, you've mentioned your mom, you know, when she's watching the TV, she assumes that is journalism. She doesn't understand manipulation and sensationalism, and nor should she. And most Americans just don't have the time to research the things that we do independently and to figure out and see through the veil of propaganda that we're all being screwed. And we are all being screwed. All of us. And I saw someone in the chat saying that they are hurting, but they're not hurting as much as us. I don't know about that. You know, I could say about CP Ellis, maybe CP Ellis was not hurting as much as Ann Atwater. Maybe not, but why do we have to compete and measure who's suffering the most? They are suffering is a fact. And what they don't fundamentally understand about phrases like none of us are free until all of us are free is that society, the way we treat the most marginalized amongst us, reflects our moral compass, reflects who we are. And if we fight for the most oppressed, that guarantees a domino effect for everybody else. Because if we liberate those communities, we liberate the rest of us. People are so worried about getting their piece of the pie, they don't understand the whole pie belongs to all of us. We do not need to be competing. If someone is slower than you, you reach out a hand and help them get up. But this society rewards us being the person in front and makes us think in ways that ignores the person behind us. And that is not a family. That is not how you design society. We still have to share, like all of these middle class people I encounter now, and I mean upper middle class, they definitely would be in the 1%. They complain to me about, all these homeless people now at their houses, and they're like, they know where I stand on defunding the police and everything, but they're like, but what do I do? This homeless guy was trying to break into my house. I felt like I'm in danger. And I can understand that from a human perspective, that this person feels like he's in danger. He has little kids at home and he doesn't know what to do. And he said actually calling the police didn't even do anything. They didn't show up. They didn't help in any ways, which, by the way, I was like, yeah, that's exactly why we should defund them. Because that money and just help that person, whether it's a mental health issue or employment or housing, if we invested that money into actually helping people that we do share space with, whether you like it or not, then you wouldn't be having these issues. So we cannot stay in this survival mindset of I'm just going to be an individual and care about myself, because it's ignorant.